what I'd love to do now is introduce you to a really good friend of mine. This gentleman has made a huge, we're talking about a monster impact in tens of thousands of people's lives in a very unique way. He carries a title that most of you don't even have the desire to carry. He carries a title that puts him on a place to get lambasted a lot. It's interesting. When you wear a title called pastor, a lot of people point fingers at you and they look at you under microscopes and they watch you real carefully. Gil is one of these guys that has just fearlessly gone out there and did what he felt called to do. Now, regardless of your belief system or where you come from, just understand that this is his story. We've asked him if he would share his story today, where he comes from, the things he's done with his life over the last couple of decades. He's pastored over 100,000 people. When you think of some of the biggest churches in this country, he has founded a couple of them that are not only the biggest in the country, they're the biggest in the state of Colorado. And I'm just privileged to call him a friend, I'm privileged to call him a brother, and I'm privileged to call him someone that's out there stepping up and going boldly where a lot of people haven't gone before. So thank you, Gil, for being here. Come on up.
Now you gotta hook him up. He's a pro. Yeah, right.
All right, hey man, I just I went to the John and breathed out at work. And so I just want to say thank you for that. It was worth my $10, and I want to hang with you, man. I do. Anyway, thanks for letting me come and spend a little bit of time with you guys today. I just want to say this right here is awesome because it's not just spiritual, not just mental, not just emotional, not just physical, but all of them. And I grew up in a family that X'd out the spiritual and the emotional, and we were all about being smarter than anybody else. And we were all about the physical. My dad played basketball in Oklahoma, Boomer, and Boomer Sooner. My brother played at Hanover College in Indiana. He went to school with Woody Harrelson, and believe it or not, they smoked a lot. And
You are not a pastor. Yes, he is.
Talking about other people.
Okay.
I'm perfect. Just hang out with me. Anyway, so I played ball overseas after I went to Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, Harvard of the Midwest, and went overseas and played ball there. So we did like physical, mental, all, and spiritually, emotional was kind of put on, the sideline. And so then I would decide because of that, I'm going to go to seminary. I actually grew up agnostic. Went to seminary, one of the top seminaries in the country, did really well there, and enjoyed all that, and then went out and started churches. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. But one of the things that really hit me was, I wanted to develop in that area and go. And so going out and doing all churches, if you do that, you notice that the S is the big thing, and then the M and the E and the P kind of get smaller and smaller. So if you just have God, then you'll be fine. And the problem is, if you read the Bible, or the Scriptures, really, and some of these Mormons over here understand all this, is that God cares about all this. Like they're all capital letters. And so one of the things that I spoke on Wednesday when we were kind of hanging out down in Lone Tree this week, I asked God if I could do this too. I'm a big movie buff. So I thought I'd just title it. I saw a movie the other day I really liked. It's called Shawshank Redemption. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
This little Stephen King vehicle. Actually, phenomenal, right? I hadn't seen it in like 10 years, so I watched it again. So I just want to give you 3 things I caught from that movie that tells me why I'm with longevity. Because, I think Stephen King would be here. He'd probably be a rep. And so, but I thought I'd just give you these 3. And, whether they relate to you, at least I hope they do. They may not. But for a guy like me, they really relate to why I'm here. Big time. Big time, big time. And the first thing goes like this. Longevity gives me a chance to actually own my own dream. Gives me a chance to own my own dream. I've been pulling people up for 25 years going, you can have a dream. All over in other Denver, Boulder, everywhere. I'll go places. They'll go, thank you, Gil, for, igniting this or fanning the flame of this. And now I am. And I thought, there came a point here I am with 4 kids, right? 10, 12, 14, and 16. By the way, thank you for the chance to get away from them for an hour. And so, I'm a single dad, and I love my kids to death. I have 2 of them hanging out over there in the other area. Love them a lot. And I thought there kind of came a point in the last year, 2 years for me where I thought, it's time for me to live my dream. Time for me to be able to think, what do I want? You know, kind of how is this going to work? And if you know anything about this movie, Shawshank, you know that, you know, Andy Dufresne, he had a dream. What was it? He wanted to get a hotel, you know, build a hotel and kind of get a boat going in Zihuatanejo. That was his big dream. He hung out with, like, you know, Red, played by Morgan Freeman. And so he's hanging out there, and Red has just said, I'm institutionalized. I'm done. I'm just going to end up a dead guy here in prison. You know how this kind of works. And so one day, Andy, right, he's kind of hanging out, and he finds this record. He's the librarian. He gets these records and starts to play music for everyone in the prison. He puts it on speaker, and he kicks back, and everybody just kind of goes silent as something flickers in them, these prisoners. And that flickering in them is what? Their dream. And now, you know, Andy, he gets 2 weeks in solitary for it. And when he's finished, he's walking into lunch with us. You know, he looks really disheveled, obviously. And he sits down with all the guys, and they go, was it worth 2 weeks to play that beautiful music, you know? And he goes, it's worth a lot longer than that. He said, because they can't take this away from you. He said, you know, I have it in me. This thing called a dream. It's in me. And it's beautiful. And he just kind of, you know, goes, man, this is amazing for me, right? And all the other prisoners are like, we think we may even... And Red's sitting there, and Red goes, my dream's dead. And Andy looks at him and says, did you ever play a musical instrument when you were a kid? He goes, well, harmonica a little bit. He goes, would you ever want to play it again? He goes, I don't know. And a few weeks later, it's Red's birthday. What does Andy get him? A harmonica. And he gives it to him. And Red goes, you didn't have to do that. And he goes, just hold on to it. And that night, when all the lights go down in the prison and everybody's silent, Red's looking at his harmonica. And he just takes a one note blow. He just goes, you know. And that's when the scene ends. And I think to myself, I want my harmonica. And I'm not just going to play one note. I'm going to be like Blues freaking Traveler. And, you know, it's going to be like played big time. And then I thought to myself, this is from my dream. My dream is not only to have my own harmonica, but I want to give my kids their harmonicas. And then I want my kids to give their kids their harmonicas. Let me tell you why this is a big deal. My family, for 150 years, generations back, I've got an uncle that does all that genealogy stuff. For 150 years back, my family is littered with alcoholics. My family is littered with people that have never reached their potential. I mean, there are like carcasses back here in my family that have basically never, ever played their harmonica. And I got 4 beautiful kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, man. And we're roughhousers. We blow up any neighborhood we're in, so don't move into ours. And we just have a blast, right? Kind of who we are. But I mean, they're 2 beautiful girls and 2 smelly guys. And so we're going for it, you know? And seriously, you know what I want to do? Really, here's my dream. Ready? Break the cycle. In every area. Every area. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. Whole people. And you know, I can't wait. Oh man, Scott and I talked about this the other day. My kids are cutting pictures out now. Because I asked them, I asked my kids what your dreams are, and I go on the internet, go get magazines, cut them out. We have a clear wall in my living room. And they're starting to post pictures of what their dreams are. And what I'm saying to them is, we're going there. And then not only are we going there, but then your kids, my grandkids, we're going to go there too. And then I said, because one day, 150 years from now, I want some uncle to do a genealogy thing and go, something weird happened 150 years ago. Where we went from a slew of alcoholic sociopaths, narcissists, and bipolar people. Can you tell? And something happened right here. We can't figure it out, but it was seismic. And then things just started trending upwards and to the right. Amazing thing. It was always downward and to the left, and now it's upwards and to the right. We don't know what it was, but something happened. I don't say, well, this little thing called longevity happened. And something amazing went from there. And so that's the first thing I thought, man, I get a harmonica here. And I get to give some away. And my kids get to do the same thing, and it gets to be ongoing. So that's the first thing I thought. And then the second thing I thought was, what longevity does, there's this line in it, now in the movie, you'll kind of get what I'm saying, but it gives me a chance, I think, to live a greater chapter 2. It gives me a greater chance to live a wonderful chapter 2, an amazing chapter 2, because my chapter 1 has closed, which I'm actually kind of excited about. That's been good, been wonderful. But now it's chapter 2 time. And this chapter 2 gets to be better than chapter 1. I really believe that. And there's this line in the movie where Andy's hanging out with Red, right? Again, Red's kind of poo-pooing this idea of, he's going to be a prisoner forever, institutionalized, and Andy's over here dreaming of Z wanting him. And finally, Andy gets frustrated with Red. He just looks at him and he goes, get busy living. Ready? Right? Or get busy what? Dying. Because there's no in-between. You know what John Wooden used to say? He'd go, if you're not growing, you're dying. There is no stagnation. You're either growing or you're done. You know what Jerry Seinfeld says, right? You start wearing sweats a lot, let's just be honest, you've kind of given up. So you're just kind of moving on. We're just, come on, you have. You're eating McDonald's, let's be honest. Whenever I'm in the drive-thru, I'm like, I'm kind of dying. That's kind of what I'm doing here, right? And so the whole idea is get busy living or get busy dying. And I thought, I get a shot here to get busy living again. In a phenomenal way. I mean, can I just tell you, this is what's great. I'm a huge dreamer anyway. And I've been able somehow to go from being this little kid growing up in Floyd Knobs, Indiana with a really crazy dysfunctional family. I've got an opportunity to go start some of the fastest growing churches in the country right up here, down here in Lafayette, this little church called Flatirons, I got to start that little church. Take it from 20 people to 12,000 people in 8 years. Between 1999 and 2003, I don't remember the light of day much, but I know we were in magazines and Channel 9 and all that stuff. And I remember sitting there going, this is really awesome. To have 12,000 people here, and 6,000 of them come on weekends. We had 3,000 plus in little small group kind of, little tribes, And people were there going for it, and kind of left there and went down to the inner city. Said, well, I've gotten a chance to, raise up the largest church in Colorado in the suburbs. Maybe go down into the inner city and try that. And so in 3 years, we went from this little 200-person church in the inner city off Colfax and Pearl. Immediately, to get into that church, you had to step over a homeless person, a crack pipe. I could go on and on. It was a party. The Holy Spirits were working. Anyway, so that church went from 200 to 2,000 in 3 years. And just got a chance to do these kind of crazy things, right? And then I sit down with, Scott the other day. We were hanging out. And we're dreaming and strategizing. Not just to reach 12,000, 100,000, whatever. We're talking about filling stadiums and Pepsi centers and reaching millions with that. And we're gonna. Where else can you get busy living like that? Seriously. Can I tell you how many conversations I have every day? They're like, well, what are you going to eat tonight? I don't know. I just want to go reach millions of people. Whatever that, I don't know. I hope we go eat something good. Let's go to Ruth Chris, whatever. I want to do that. I just want to do that. I have no desire to get busy dying. And I don't know of another place like this where that happens. Where you can sit down with somebody and say, how do we better that many people? How do we spend every heartbeat that we have, every second, every waking moment thinking about how we can do that? You just don't have those conversations. I had a couple opportunities to go work for really, actually phenomenal companies, make a lot of money. But it'd be like, how do we shingle that house? I don't know, we'll figure it out. Or we can see lives, families, generations impacted. And to me, I go, man, that's what I would want to do. And I want to be holistic. I want to hang out with guys like Ben. I don't know what I guess I do know what you're drinking now. Anyway, all I'm saying is, I think I'm pretty fired up. I listen to him and my enzymes start to roll. Isn't that cool though?
Yes.
Yeah. Where do you get to hang? Where do you get to do that? Where do you get to hang out with that? Which, by the way, leads me to that third last thing. I'll get out of here. So, I get to do this with people I love. I get to do this with people I love. I mean, remember that with Andy and Red? Remember this? Ready? So Andy's like, Z want nail, right? And he's like, I'm going to place this little thing under a tree, and you're going to go pick it up when you get out, if you get out, that kind of deal. And I want you to come find me. Remember the last scene in the movie? There's Andy with his boat. Red's walking up. He's got his fedora. You know, he kind of walks up there. They glance at each other, and it's like a love fest. Like, they just look at each other like, it's like The Notebook. You know? So Brian Gosling's Man Rush. Anyway, so, but I mean, seriously, right? He just goes, They just look at each other like, man, we're going to get to do this together the rest of our lives. And I don't know, I just, deep in my soul, I go, that's what I want. I want to do this thing with people I love. I want to do it with people that are phenomenal people, like the best people. Have you ever had a bad coach? Come on, you had a bad coach? Right? Then think of a good coach, but first bad coach, but then good coach. Okay? Bad, I played tennis. Love it. And in high school, I actually was playing. I was getting pretty good. Freshman, sophomore year, I had Coach Miller. We're speaking out to other people, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, Coach Miller, if you're a longevity rep, I love you. All right, so Coach Miller. I was thinking about that. Wow, this goes out there. Coach Miller.
You still love him.
I do. Yeah. Anyway, so Coach Miller was, I don't know, it was Floyd Knobs, Indiana, Floyd Central High School. He could just tell. He just had a different agenda. And I could tell it from the beginning, my freshman year, sophomore year, and he and I ended up getting really off in some ways. And so I decided to exit the team. So I'm leaving the team, and a couple weeks later I call and say, let's go play because I still love you. I just don't like your coaching behaviors. It's kind of, that's Bobby Knight territory, if you know Indiana, right? So Bobby Knight was our mentor. And hence his mentor, right? And so we go hang out together, make a long story unbearable. He gets in his car, and he's mad at me because I won't come back to the team. Gets in his car and starts at me at 70 miles an hour. He hits the brakes, stopping right in front of me. I'm a sophomore in high school. Gets out of his car and comes over and goes, looks at me and goes, you're an effing quitter. You're an effing quitter. That's all you'll ever be. He just kind of rifles some other real encouraging things, right? Gets back in his car and leaves. I'll never forget that moment, by the way. You ever forget those? So just fast forward. My junior year, I move out to live with my dad in Phoenix, Arizona. My mom's like, you got a lot more going for you. We got to get you to a bigger city. I go to the best school for tennis in Arizona, Camelback High School. My coach there is Coach Bourgeois. He is amazing. Best tennis team for like 10 years running because of him. I get on his team. He takes me under his wing, shoots straight with me, speaks truth and love. I mean, does the whole bit. I'm going, I love this guy. Like, oof, do I love this guy. And he says, hold tight for a little bit, Gil. I think you've got a lot of potential. You just came from here. I got to play some other guys for a little bit, but your year will be your senior year. I'm going to give you the best people to teach you. He has me in his home. His wife make meals for me. I mean, you name it. My senior year, I'm the number one player on the team. I get all the way to the state finals, where I lose. Bawling my eyes out in Coach Bourgeois' van. And he's just giving me a big hug, and he's whispering in my ear, you are the MVP of life. You have overcome. You stuck it out. You're a great man. Yeah. And I got a scholarship to go play tennis at Bradley University. That one guy's into calling people names, and the other guy's into making people scholarship winners. Longevity is about making people scholarship winners. I guarantee it. And I've known Scott, now, almost 2 years. Little dog. You know. Seriously, I didn't even know what he did. I just, you know, knew he lost a lot of hair and he's a good guy. You know. And, you know, he this is a true story. About 2 months ago, I'm sitting there going, I know I need a change. And I just started, you know, thinking about it and had some quiet time and praying about it. And in my mind, I got to call Scott. And I hadn't talked to you in how many months? We hadn't seen each other for a while. 1 hour later, out of the blue, he calls me. He calls me. He goes, I don't know what's going on, but let's get together. And we've had a fun little ride, haven't we? I just know I want to be around people. This is a deal maker for me. A deal maker for me. I want to be around people like Scott Bargelos. I want to be around people like Tom Chenault. I don't know your wives well yet, but they seem very great.
Very patient.
Patient with them. They've dealt with you guys. Serious. I mean, I kidding. Dr. Wallach. I mean, how many people decide? I love your deal, Ben, about 1990, whatever it was. Dead doctors don't lie, and you're like, I did the same thing. I listened to it a couple times. I'm like, this guy kind of gets it. And I thought, what person decides? You know what? Let's shift trends and let's actually help people and spends their lives doing that. Dr. Wallach, and then he's got his son, you know, Steve, is that his name? Right? Then you've got other guys in there. And this whole deal that just, the people that I know I have run into, I would do my life with, and I'm gonna do my life with forever. And that's the kind of place that I want to be. So, do you want NATO, baby? Thanks for letting me come in.
Great job. I want to meet your children. All right, say no. I'm afraid of that. All right.